Hello and welcome to Tip Off. There is no production for you today just because, frankly, I've got some production issues, equipment issues right now. That with the rebuild of the computer, I haven't been able to get straightened out. So there's no music, there's no highlight, there's bum, 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 bum. You thought there's going to be no drum roll. Are you crazy? Of course there's a drum roll. Hope you're well. I'm David Locke. Yesterday, I screwed up the audio trying to get you the view. Trying to be a little careful today. There's your view. You can get me off the corner of the program today as we come to you live from Los Angeles. The sample size grows and the results stay the same. The theme to today's program. We'll also take you through our NBA 5 like we always do. And then break down the Jazz a little bit, some interesting tidbits and things of that sort. Around for you here today. Go Giants, by the way. Have to just represent my guys. That was pretty awesome. Ron Boone buying me dinner again as a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Hope you're well. Thanks very much for tuning in. You can get this regularly on Stitcher app on your Android phone or on iTunes. Subscribe to Locked On Jazz. And if you get a chance to leave a comment, we do greatly appreciate it. Let's get right to it today with the NBA 5. Hey, Bill Simmons. Hey, Bill Simmons, did you see that your boy Marcus Smart yesterday went 0 for 4 with 6 assists and 4 turnovers? I like Marcus Smart. I like Marcus Smart a lot. I hate to have it that Bill Simmons suddenly makes it so I root against Marcus Smart every single day. But I got to admit, I saw Marcus Smart went 0 for 4. And after Bill Simmons' little thing about how Dante Exum's going to get his ass kicked by everybody, I was very pleased that Marcus Smart went 0 for 4. All right, now I'll stop being a bad person and stop rooting against him. Looks like Dougie McDermott's getting the start in Chicago for the Bulls as they ran out a pretty regular lineup last night with Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler. Butler went off. McDermott, Pau Gasol, and Joakim Noah bringing Taj Gibson off the bench. Chicago, that lineup's pretty solid. Anthony Davis just can't seem to help himself against a very depleted Oklahoma City team. Anthony Davis had 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists last night on 10 of 15 shooting. He simply couldn't help himself. The thing in New Orleans, talking to people around the league, is if New Orleans' guards play any defense at all this year, they should be terrific. The question is no one's certain of whether or not they'll play any defense at all this year. So that is probably the issue. More than anything else along the way is whether or not they actually will play that defense and whether or not they will and show that effort, because if they do with Omer Ashik and Anthony Davis, they are going to be a force. And if they're, then the question gets to be whether or not they can actually make the playoffs or not. The big news was NBA ranked Kobe at 40. I saw Kobe last night. I don't think he's 40. I don't think he's the 40th best player in the NBA anymore. He's going to score. He's going to score a lot. He's probably going to be in the top 5 leading scorers in the league. It's going to take him a shot per point to do what he needs to do in this league. He showed no explosion. He went to dunk. It wasn't there. He was wearing weird boxer shoes that were up all the way up half his leg, which tells me that there's something wrong that he's trying to deal with. To me, Kobe didn't look like 40, frankly. He looks like Michael Jordan Washington Wizards. That's who he is. He had a few quick first steps where he burst off a pick and roll to make a shot. He did a few things of that sort, but no, I'm not convinced he's 40. John Schumann wrote an interesting piece about ball movement and player movement, which is becoming very in vogue. Dan Clayton's done some interesting things about passing turnovers on ball movement that I mentioned yesterday at Salt City Hoops. This was really interesting because I'm not sure that what I'm taking out of this a little bit, the John Schumann stuff, is I'm not sure that this is the holy grail. It's a way to play. It's a successful way to play. It's what we're going to do, but I'm not convinced it's the holy grail everyone thinks it is. San Antonio had the most passes per minute. He looked at it, 15 passes per minute, but the 76ers and the Charlotte Bobcats did too. They were right there at 15. The Jazz, for all kind of our confusing talk of they were 9th in the league last year in ball movement. And our offense wasn't good. We've decided that we're going to then therefore decide that all those passes were irrelevant. Maybe not, frankly. We didn't have a single natural offensive player on our roster last year who could go beat you. And the only way anyone was going to score on our roster last year was probably through ball movement. And so to some extent, maybe the offense did at that point what it was capable of getting done with some reasonable level. We'll see. Maybe this new offense will really open everything up at an incredibly high rate, or
right now it feels really good, and we're getting good looks, and it's getting different types of looks. But last year's offense did pass the basketball, and maybe had to pass the basketball to do anything offensively along the way. The Kings were second to last in the Warriors with their isolation game, but their isolation game worked with the last in ball movement in the NBA. So then the next angle was player movement. San Antonio again was one. The Jazz were 10th, and four of the bottom teams were the Thunders, the Knicks, the Pistons, and I don't know who that fourth team is. Can't read it. And again, no huge correlation between ball movement, player movement, and success. So what we really have is that San Antonio's player movement and ball movement is highly, highly successful. Other teams have been successful offensively without doing it, and we are going to try to emulate doing it in the San Antonio model because they've been successful doing it. But it doesn't. The research that's coming out of this does not seem to show that the ball movement and player movement is necessarily the holy grail on things. It's pretty interesting work by John Schumann. On one level, you might say, well, he didn't find anything. The other thing, I think the fact that he didn't find anything is pretty interesting. Elsewhere, Jared Durbin did an interesting piece. There's so much good stuff going on at Bleacher Report about touches per foul drawn. So DeMarcus Cousins leads the league in drawing a foul most times he can touch the ball. Then Dwight Howard, then Anthony Davis, then Nene, one of the truly underrated players in this league. Nikolai Pekovic, then DeMar DeRozan. Thought that's interesting. The leading wing guy in the league on fouls drawn per touch is DeRozan, which he probably has to be since he's one of the five players who is a shooting guard that doesn't shoot at least 20% of his possessions as a three. Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, MKG, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and Kenneth Faried are the top 10. So interesting there. Then the touches per foul drawn lowest in the NBA. Kendall Marshall, Sean Marion, Jose Calderon, Josh McRoberts, Trey Burke, Mike Miller, just a shooter, Norris Cole, Vasquez, Wesley Johnson, who looked awful last night, and Danny Green. So Trey Burke, who we've talked about so often, needing to be able to draw fouls and do some things of that nature, is in that list of guys that draw the least fouls. Then he did an interesting little twist on it. He went and took top 25 players in seconds of possessions per foul drawn. So, time of possession per fouls drawn, and do non-bigs. And that's Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Derek Williams, Wesley Matthews, Luol Deng, Singler, Tucker, Brewer, Butler, Henderson, and Pierce. I'm not sure what I thought that list showed along the way. And then he did the reverse, and again, I'm not sure what it showed, but I thought the first one was really interesting, that of the guys who touches per fouls drawn, I thought was an interesting note, and I think it then exemplified the evolution that Trey is still going to have to make to be an efficient player in this league. So some good research being done out there, and that, my friends, is your NBA 5. No little sounder. But I do want to thank everybody that's called 801-237-38. That is our listener interaction line. We used it last night for the first time. I'm guessing our audience wasn't huge last night because you were either watching the Giants go to the World Series, the NFL game, or the Utes, rather than our preseason game for some people. But I do want to thank people that it's been really good. I have a bunch of more stock piled up, but if the more the merrier. If you want to ask the Jazz player a question, call 801-237-38. 801-237-38. Leave your name and email address on the back end, and if I can get tickets for you, I will. There are no promises this year. I don't have that deal secured right now on being able to get tickets for you like I did last year. So, but anyway, I wanted to thank everybody that has done that, and hopefully we'll be able to come through. Usually we are. And it's a cool little feature. Actually, I'm running it this year at different points in the broadcast, but also one of the times I'm running it is when somebody goes to the free throw line, is what I kind of integrated in yesterday, which was really kind of cool. So make sure you catch that. All right, let's go to the Jazz last night. The sample size grows and the results are the same. which is pretty exciting. The offense was very sharp at times. Again, Quinn said afterwards he thought it was a little sloppy. He's probably right. Ron said he thought at one point we're just making passes we thought we were supposed to make rather than checking to see if they were there. But afterwards, I mean, the one question we're all asking is how much of this is real? How much of this translates? And I think last night translates very little. That Laker team was terrible. And they may be terrible for the rest of the year. We're better than they are. I think we'll finish ahead of the Lakers in the standings. I think they're awful. And I think they're going to stay awful. I don't know what Byron Scott's doing. 8 3-pointer attempts in 2 games. Holy smokes, that's just not right. It's archaic. But Ron had a good point. You know, we could not be winning these games. We could not be playing well. That's a possibility too. So we're playing really, really well and doing things at a very, very high level right now. And maybe it's because we had basically 3 weeks of training camp before the season started. Maybe it's because these guys are over eager to prove to Quinn that things are right. Maybe it's because Quinn's offensive systems are. Maybe it's totally real. Maybe it's not. But the point is, at this point, you could be failing right now too. That wouldn't be, you know, we've seen that last year's preseason. We were really terrible, and you just say, well, it's just preseason. But the fact of the matter is, you know, we can do this better. We're doing this at a rate now that's at a pretty high level. What's jumping out to me a little bit is this balance offensively. You know, last night it was suddenly Rodney Hood and Trevor Booker who led the way early in this game. With their points, and then Rudy Gobert, eventually Favors and Hayward took over as they should. They're our best players. But you're seeing great balance out of everybody. You're seeing terrific ball movement that leads to that balance, and you're seeing us get into these sets early, and what we're watching in practice is coming to fruition. Now, LA was pretty disinterested defensively, and you know, we still haven't seen a team have a scouting report on the Jazz and get into their bodies and knock them off their spots and change where the passes can go and see if we bail out of it and suddenly go one-on-one or what happens. That's going to happen during the regular season. But it's very, everything's, you know, we're not going 82-0. We're probably not going 50-32. We're probably not going 41-41. We may not be going 35 and whatever. But everything is, you can see it kind of moving in the correct direction. To some extent, I think you're just still dealing with the talent issue in a lot of ways of where things are going to progress. And, you know, it's the same thing with the Lakers. Why the Lakers are terrible. You know, our highest rated player in the NBA rank is Gordon Hayward at 40 whatever. Their highest ranked player is Kobe at 40, and he's not. I mean, Gordon's a far better player than Kobe at this point. He can't score the same way if he shot every single time like Kobe does, but unfortunately, you know, Kobe's on the back end, and you know, great competitors and great players of all time. I have no idea what he's going to do with himself this year. He's going to have to find internal battles. Last night he got into a battle with Hayward because his team can't fight, isn't good enough to fight someone, so he's got to find a different way to do it. For things, I was very impressed by Dante Exum last night. He got humbled against the Clippers and then he came out and Ronnie Price knew it and got right into his body and was going to try to take advantage of him, and he handled it well and he was physical and he didn't get punked, and I thought he really played the game well. He created opportunities. I think he's going to have some struggles, but I think we're generally going to do well when he's on the floor. He finds people. He makes everyone else better. Rudy Gobert and he are beginning to get a little language between each other. He throws that lob to Rudy. People are getting aware of it and getting into Rudy's body on a few of those plays, so it's not going to be there. And again, that's you grab 20 rebounds and you have a few good preseason games. By the time we get to the regular season, you know, there's going to be a coach that says, you know, make sure you always are attached to him and have a body on him, and suddenly Rudy's movement is going to disappear. Some of the things that have continued, though, Hayward shot the ball very well again. Favors had a huge amount of space and played well. The defensive schemes are being executed. The Lakers don't have the firepower to beat you, but the defensive schemes were being executed. What we saw in practice and in shoot-around was being done in the games. It's very simple stuff, but it means the communication's there, the interest is there, the connection is there. Along the way. So a lot of really good things again. Trevor Booker displayed a wide ranging of offensive skills at one point last night, which we, I think, expected, but putting the ball on the floor right-handed, which we hadn't seen prior to the game. Trey did not shoot the ball well, but I didn't think he played badly, which I thought was a huge step, actually. That I thought he obviously struggled shooting the ball last night, but while he struggled shooting the ball, he still did a lot of things right, got us into our offense, got to the places that he needed to go, and finished 2 of 9. Did not go to the free throw line. I mean, we're gonna have to keep an eye on it. At some point he's got to go to the free throw line, or he becomes an inefficient player in the league. And Rodney Hood has started and played well, and really done a nice job. And it's funny, without Alec Burks, the question got asked the other day, and it won't happen this year. And I dismissed it at the time. I came back and kind of to it with whether or not Rodney Hood should start and Alec comes off the bench. And I said I don't really buy into it because I'm a believer strongly that you play your 5 best players and put your 5 best players on the floor, because you just don't have a lot of time in which that works otherwise. And Alec, maybe our leading scorer, and I do. If you watch substitutions in the NBA, unless you do something and really build to it, your 5 best players should be on the floor to start each first and third quarter, and then probably finish the game. It's the only way you have. That's the one unit that spends a lot of time together. However, if he's not a defensive liability, which I don't know whether he is or not, I would have to say I actually thought watched the team last night with Rodney Hood on the floor, and the floor spacing with his ability to shoot a 3 is pretty terrific. I mean, part of the reason why everything was done last year with Marvin and Richard was floor spacing, and there's a legitimate argument to it. So there was, watching last night, a thought that the whole idea that Rodney Hood starts instead of Alec Burks, and Alec Burks come off the bench a la Manu Ginobili, and Hood spreads the floor for you. It didn't seem crazy last night, I would say. I don't think it would happen, but Rodney really does spread the floor. He's got a pretty good handle, and he does some things in that regard that are pretty good. I forgot to turn on the questions mentioned, and I don't really have time anyway. I've got 3 interviews I have to do in the next hour, so I think we're done. I don't think I'm missing anything last night. We play again tonight against the Clippers, and we play Sunday. So Monday I'll have another one of these for you from Los Angeles still. And we'll have 2 more games to talk about. So nice work, everybody. I hope I didn't forget anything. I'm trying to think. Oh, my gosh, the one play last night we got to talk about. Rudy Gobert bounced past a back-cutting Gordon Hayward. It exemplified everything this team's trying to do right now. And really, really nice work all the way around on that play. Last night, again, the Jazz had 30 assists on 42 field goals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys had 2 or more assists. Toure Murray, Carrick Felix got time. Neither of them really separated themselves in any way. Novak and Brock Modem played. They actually held their ground pretty well. Toure got 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Carrick got 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Neither of them jumped out in any way. But that group actually played. That group tried to do the right thing too. It was cool. All right. That wraps up tip-off today. I've got some interviews I got to do. I hope you're good. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Follow me on Facebook at David Locke and Locked On Sports, and the Google Plus community continues to grow, and I need to get some moderators and work on that. I'll try to get that done to amp up that coverage a little bit. That's at Google Plus Locked On Sports community. Thanks for